The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Welcome to Staring Into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Michael Patrick Hicks.
Hello.
Matt Brandenburg.
Hey, creeps.
You're slow now, Matt. What's up with that?
I know. I want to offset your speed.
You sound like you ought to be driving by a playground in a dark van.
Don't talk about what I do during the night.
You know you have restraining orders.
Hey, during all this quarantine,
job.
there's no schools around, so it's all right.
You're out of a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Plagues are not an excuse, Matt.
I don't know. I think the plague's a pretty good excuse, Michael.
Gives me a chance to practice.
God damn it. And we have a very special guest, Villimey.
Villimey, yeah.
Villimey. I almost did it. And
Almost.
how do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, God, you want me to pronounce it? do you want everyone listening to cringe?
No, it's perfect.
No.
Well, okay, the full name, if you want the full name, it's Villimey Mist Sigurbjörnsdóttir. And then there came the silence.
No, it's perfect.
Perfect.
I love it.
I'm just a little girl from Iceland. That's why the name is so weird, guys.
It is a very Icelandic name. I love it.
It is, yes. Yet somehow there are not many people who have that name. I'm actually the oldest among the Villimeys in Iceland, and I was the first one that got it legalized.
Nice.
That's really cool.
I mean, I had to fight for my name. My mom was adamant on naming it, but the priest was like, "No, it's too barbaric. I'm not gonna allow that."
Wait, how did you fight for your name? Were you like a child at the time?
No. It was in 2012. I was getting kind of tired of. I had always going when I was in high school and in elementary school. Whenever I had to take the test, you had to put your full name. But I always been known as Villimey, and I always wrote my name Villimey. But I always had to come up to the teacher and be like, "Hi." So legally, my name right now is Villimey Mist, but I'm known as Villimey. So I'm just going to write that on the exam, and you'll just know it's me.
Perfect.
So I was getting kind of tired of that. I would even have to do it at the university because, there's so many students there and just one teacher, and he's not going to remember anything about
Right.
the students. So I'm like, no, I can't deal with that. I just need to get it legalized.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And welcome to the Abyss.
Thank you. I'm super excited about this.
We're looking forward to having a full spoiler deep dive into Dear Laura today,
Oh, yeah.
which is a fantastic novella.
And we have to issue a bit of a correction from last week's episode.
Yes, I thought it was a vampire story. It's not. It is a straight-up thriller, but it is a fantastic horror thriller.
We really dropped the ball on that one.
I really did.
Hey, I mean, I dropped that ball, so I'll take. If anyone wants to give it hate my way.
Yep, it is all Richard's fault.
I'll take all the hate.
If anyone bought it under false pretenses, he owes you a refund.
No, I don't, because that story was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's why I recommended it. I'm like, you guys need to read this. You need to read this now.
Well, I've had it on my Kindle for like a while and just never got around to it.
It's funny because I think it was the end of August or maybe beginning of September. I kind of went on a little buying spree, and this is totally not knowing we were going to have to read it. I picked this one up because I was like, well, I need to read some Gemma Amour, and this one had caught my eye since it was out last year. And so I just picked it up, and then when we were told we were going to do this one, I was like, oh, look at that. That was perfect timing.
Perfect timing and perfect chance.
Yes.
I have her collection. What is it? These Wounds We Make, and that's like jumping to the top of my to read pile now.
Yeah. I have her Cruel Works of Nature, and I'm super excited to go into that.
Yeah, I've got a copy of Till the Score is Paid over on my book cart. I've got her new one, Girl on Fire, pre-ordered. So, yeah, I'm ready for more.
She's fucking
ready for more for Gemma Amour.
Yes.
But before we dive into Dear Laura, we'd like to give a rundown and recommendation of stuff we consumed last week. I decided to, in our current pandemic world, I decided to go to the movie theater.
Ooh. Oh, you're in the same boat as I am.
To see Tenet. And
is that classified as horror?
No, it's not. It's science fiction, but we recommend sci-fi stuff here too.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And
in that speculative umbrella.
Yeah. I will say the movie's very divided among people who see it. It's worth seeing for the spectacle.
Yeah, it's the cinematography really, really good.
The concept of the movie is our character, who is played by John David Washington, who's Denzel Washington's son.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Is that true, or are you just making that up like the vampire thing? Okay.
It's true. He's Denzel. He used to be a football player, and he gave up football to go into acting. And he's really good. Like, he was great in The Black Klansman. He's really great in this. He's great in some other stuff I've seen him in, too. And in this movie, his character is just called the protagonist. Huh. That's his character's name. And he works for this kind of CIA-like organization, and they're trying to prevent a World War III scenario. But in this case, it's like people from the future have developed the ability to travel backwards in time and have left material to kind of create this backwards time mobility in like the present day. And a weapons dealer has found it, and he's trying to use this material to erase existence, because if he can't live, then nothing else can live with him.
So it's like Die Hard and Looper on crack?
Pretty much. And the action scenes in this movie are like, you have people fighting who are like in the current time and moving forward, fighting against people who are moving backwards through time. I want the DVD for the making of features just to see how the fuck they filmed half these scenes.
So the big question is, how do they handle the time travel? Because that premise.
It's a tricky thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, obviously he doesn't make it. He doesn't create the apocalypse. Otherwise, the world would be done.
So how they handle the time travel is pretty much like the character we follow, like the protagonist, and his friend, who I forget his character's the side character. No, I forget his name, but the side character is played by Robert Pattinson. I forget his name, and I'll get into why that is in a minute. He's played by Robert Pattinson, and pretty much they they have the material to travel back in time as well. And what it is when one person travels back in time, they travel back in like real time. So like while the world's moving forward, they're moving in reverse at the same pace.
Okay.
So they can just go back to a certain point, and then they have to relive their life up to the certain point that they started from.
So they're aging, going backwards.
Yeah.
Are they, and like, is the world going backwards around them? Like, if somebody's eating a sandwich,
in their mind, they're moving forward, but everything around them is moving backwards. So like, if someone's eating a sandwich, the sandwich is coming out of their mouths to be reassembled.
Do people talk backwards?
Yes.
Oh.
But he's going in real time, so he has to like really deal with that. How do they deal with that?
They often sleep. They try to spend as much time outside of like the real world in kind of like air bubbles where they can just let the time pass them by to get out at a specific point to go through their mission.
So they're like, instead of jet lagged, they're time lagged.
Yeah.
So if they're aging backwards, does he ever have to like beat up a baby?
No, but he does. Slight spoilers. He does have to fight himself.
Is it his older? Wait, what is it? His younger self? Does he know that he's beating himself up?
He knows when it goes through the time loop, but when it's him at first, because the fight happens twice. So the first time it happens, you don't know who he's fighting. The second time it happens, you know he's fighting himself.
Okay. So
and you know why it's happening.
Does he remember fighting himself?
Yes.
And so he knows all the moves he's going to do?
Exactly. And the reason why I don't remember a lot of characters' names and some of the plot is kind of a bit complicated to explain is who remembers the Dark Knight Rises and how horrible Bane sounded in that movie?
Yes.
I had no problem with Bane.
Well, ever since that movie, Christopher Nolan has a
problem for you.
I was born in the darkness.
You were merely adopted it.
I was molded by it.
Gotham is yours.
So ever since that movie, Christopher Nolan has loved like mixing the audio weirdly, where like he puts the score and the sound effects in the forefront of the audio and then buries the dialogue in the back end.
Oh, yeah. Didn't he start with that with Inception?
He did with Inception. He did it even more with The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
He did it even more with Interstellar.
Yeah.
Dunkirk, it made sense because it was a war movie.
Yeah.
And then this movie, there's parts where like there's exposition scenes. Also, about 80% of the dialogue in this movie is exposition. But there's like there's exposition scenes where the soundtrack drowns out what the characters are saying. So like you can't even understand what they're saying because like the soundtrack is drowning out.
That was his plan all along.
Yes.
Honestly, like I think he's doing it just to purposely confuse people.
Yeah, probably.
That and to cover up his like he doesn't know what he's doing, what he's talking about in these stories.
Exactly. It's like, so everything has exposition, but we'll just drown it out with music.
Yeah.
I feel like he's doing it to try and emulate the rules of magic that were set forth in The Prestige.
Oh, yeah.
There's the obfuscation.
I will say, though, like, this movie's worth seeing just for the spectacle alone, because, like, the spectacle's really something else.
Yeah.
But in terms of Christopher Nolan movies, it's not his worst, but it's not his best. It's like mid-tier Christopher Nolan.
So it's like meh.
I'd say I'd give it like a 3 out of 5.
Okay. I mean, that's not bad. I think it's solid. Now, I do have another question that might be kind of spoilerific, and it might spoil another movie. So if you don't want to get into the details of it, that's fine. But I am curious, when Washington fights his future self, since his opponent knows what moves he's going to be doing, does he have to fool his future self the way Bill and Ted did in Face the Music?
Kind of. What it is the future self fights the past self. Wow. What it is the future self's trying to. There's a character who's dying, and they're trying to bring this character to a place where this character can recover. And part of that involves them crashing a jet plane into a secret, secure, rich people art gallery place. And our character in the past is there thinking something's going to happen. So he's ready and hostile. And when our character comes out, they begin the fight. And our future character is not trying to kill the past character, but the past character is trying to kill the future character because they're getting into the fight. Mm. And then the whole idea is he's trying to find ways to get away and not reveal that he's the future version of himself to his past.
Oh. Do you ever do anything like future you's a real dick, dude?
No, there's no future you's a real dick. Although, but side note, did you guys see the new Bill and Ted movie?
Yes.
I haven't.
I love that movie.
Oh, it was a ton of fun.
Was it?
But I think I still will probably be completely thrown off that Keanu Reeves doesn't have a beard anymore.
Well, you do have Keanu Reeves with kind of a beard in the future Keanu Reeves character.
Okay. That's something to look forward to.
It's a lot of fun.
I mean, if it's as fun as the other two movies, then yeah, it's definitely going to be fun.
I just love that scene where he's like, it's like, it looks like we're living in our van. We're totally living in that van. And I'm drinking a lot. But you don't drink. I will.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. Their daughters were a great addition.
Yeah, the movie's tons of fun. It's the one movie I needed this year. Just like turn your brain off and have a good time laughing.
Yeah,
like a feel-good movie.
Very much. Yeah.
But Mike, what do you have recommended for us this week?
Oh man, I had such a good week of reading. I really needed this past week. So in addition to the book that we are discussing, I also got through Max Booth III's We Need to Do Something.
Oh, that book's so good.
Oh my God. So half of the creative team that gave us Pizza Horror has this novel of bathroom horror where this family of four is trapped in their bathroom after a tornado knocks down the tree in their backyard and sends it through the roof of their house and seals their bathroom door shut for quite a while. They spend many days maybe. There isn't an exact timeline on this because they are stuck in this bathroom for so long and they have no light to go by. There's no window in the bathroom that they lose all sense of time. So we don't really know how long they're stuck in the bathroom, but long enough that they go through starvation and dehydration and start to have hallucinations. The father is an alcoholic going through withdrawal. So it's like being trapped in a tiny bathroom with Jack Torrance and your little brother making fart jokes the whole time.
Of course.
It is a wild ride. Yeah. It's like I kept wondering, like, how much is Max going to possibly be able to do with this premise?
He does a lot with this premise.
He stretches it out to its absolute fullest. I mean, he does some shit in here. Like, there is one scene in particular that I won't go into, but it was an absolutely holy shit kind of moment where they think they have discovered something on the other side of this door and it ends up being something else entirely.
Yep.
It gets pretty damn crazy.
What about the alcohol wipes?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh no! I can already picture what's going to happen with that.
Yeah. So this father starts off with a thermos full of whiskey that he brings into the bathroom with him to try and help him get well over the course of these days because he's stuck in confines with the family that he hates. So he's just going to try and drink the tornado away, thinking that this storm is no big deal. It's just going to blow over until they find out that they are completely stuck together. And yeah, he tries to, once the whiskey runs out, he's trying to get like the mouthwash, drinking a whole bottle of mouthwash. Then the sanitary wipes, like it just gets all kinds of crazy.
It's a bleak fucking story.
It is really, really dark. I mean,
but at the same time, you kind of, it's horrifying because this could actually happen.
Yeah, it is something frighteningly enough that it could definitely happen if you have kind of those worst case scenarios built in. You're thinking like, well, I mean, a tornado sucks, but what's the worst that could happen? I mean, you lose your house, but you're safe, right? If you're in the bathroom, if you're lucky. And this takes that concept and it's just like, no, the tornado is probably the least of what could really go wrong here.
Yeah, you know they probably just want to run into the tornado instead.
Yeah, that probably would have been better.
You know what's a kind of funny thing too? I think it was the night Max released this novella. They had a tornado in his town in Texas, and he had to lock himself in the bathroom with his family to ride the tornado out.
Well, I think
it was like the day he released it.
Yeah, well, this was inspired by another tornado that came through their area where they had to seek shelter in their bathroom, and I think this is what inspired it. And then, because he lives in Texas, when he released it during tornado season.
As you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, Jesus, I read Touch the Night earlier this year, and I thought that was dark, and I would need kind of a pick-me-up. And I had thought about reading this at that point, and I'm really glad that I waited.
I mean, it sounds fancy. Like, oh, he wrote a horror story that takes place in the bathroom. And then it's like, oh, he wrote a horror story that takes place in the bathroom.
Yeah. And it's Max, so if you read something like Carnivorous Lunar Activities, you think, oh, okay, bathroom horror, this is going to be fucking hilarious. And it is so not funny.
Yeah, exactly. When you said bathroom horror, I just immediately thought of like, oh, there's going to be a toilet monster or something.
He doesn't go that far, but there are certain issues that crop up along with this. That being set in Texas, it does have some environmental horror aspects of it.
Oh, nice.
And also some very quease-inducing body horror toward the end.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
This Max really goes some places with this one.
Honestly, Max is a really great writer, and I kind of hope like people start reading him more because
Well, you definitely piqued my interest, so I'm probably going to be reading more of him.
I've only read a handful of things that he's written. Several of his short stories in various anthologies, his standalone stuff that he's published, his longer works through his company Perpetual Motion Machine, Touch the Night from Cemetery Dance, and Carnivorous Lunar Activities that is kind of in limbo right now after the whole Fangoria fallout.
Yeah.
If whatever you can find of his, definitely read it. He's fantastic.
Before we go on to Matt for a second, did you read The Nightly Disease?
Yes.
So did you hear about how he quit his hotel job?
I did, and that is fucking baller epic.
The Nightly Disease is a book he wrote that was inspired by him working the night shift at a hotel.
Okay.
And he quit the job by giving the book to his manager.
No!
That
is awesome.
Apparently his last week of work, the manager went to him and just goes, Max, did you jerk off on the roof of this building? Because that's a scene in the book.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Wow.
Did he answer him? Like,
I don't think he did. I think he
yeah,
just walked away. We love Max on Stairgate to the Abyss.
Yeah, Max is a friend of the show, and we're just fans to begin with. Awesome. Even if he hated us, I think we would probably still like him.
But Matt.
All right, so for me, I also had a pretty decent week in reading. Besides reading and finishing Dear Laura, which we'll be talking about, I finished Crossroads. I think I talked about so I didn't.
Did you at least need a drink?
I did have to take a minute. I will say that.
Okay, you're not completely dead inside then.
Yeah,
I'm pretty close, but not completely dead. It took me a couple minutes before I then just jumped into Dear Laura. So I like to flagellate myself a little, I guess.
You had like a moment of silence and then proceeded to whip yourself a bit.
Yeah. I did, but I understand where the emotions come from. That was a very deep emotional story, and I felt really bad for what's his name, the neighbor. What is that guy's name? I can't remember why I'm blanking on it, but anyway, her neighbor, Chris's neighbor, in the story, because it seemed like they were getting on really well together, and then to have the ending happen, I was just like, oh man, what a bummer. What I appreciate it more is how subtle and kind of dread-inducing this entity is, and how we've talked about this in other episodes and other stories, just how we don't know the full story of what this thing is, but what we do know is there's a bigger story involved in this thing. And I love that it's literally just the last couple pages that you kind of get more of this thing that lives in the woods and is hiding up in a tree. And I thought that was done really well, because you could read this story as not supernatural. I mean, all the way it kind of up, and I mean, besides the fact that her son kind of keeps appearing every night, but that could be other reasons than supernatural. That just could be in her head. So I appreciated that, because it's a really good, engaging story about a mother and dealing with the loss of her son and what that can do to somebody. So even all of that, I was like, man, this is written really well, and it's a great story. And then she adds in this thing that some of the people are seeing, and they're getting in their dreams, and you get the moaning in the woods. And then the last at the end when they're trying to figure out like how she did what she did, and then when they discover what's up in this tree, I was just like, whoa, she like, yeah. So I really appreciated what she did with that. So that was my first one. I can, if we want to do another quick round, and then I can jump into Standalone after this.
Oh yeah, Villimey, what about you?
Well, I'm still currently reading Graveyard Smash, Volume 2.
Nice.
by Candicia Press. So a lot of great stories written by female horror writers. I'm reading it through my Kindle. I think I'm on 60% of the entire anthology. But the one story that still sticks out is the first one. It's called Holes. And it's about this woman who has a phobia for holes. Just any kind of holes. She averts it like it's the plague. And she tried therapy, like her therapist tried exposure therapy, which, for some people it works. For her, it definitely didn't. She started to feel really easy first, like showing her a picture of a strawberry, looking at the tiny holes of the strawberry, like the pores. She was like, I'm okay. And then it was another, I think, shower head, I think. The middle one, and she was like really itching in her seat, like really wanted to go. And then the third photo was of a lotus flower, which if you know, when it dies, it just leaves these like huge craters in the middle of it. And she just bolted out the door. She's like, nope, not for me, not gonna happen. And then it's written during this pandemic. So it happens when the COVID-19 strikes. And she gets really, really anxious about that and just starts, disinfecting everything. She bolts the door, like completely locks it, doesn't go out anymore. And then her mind, because she's isolating herself from everyone, her mind plays really, really bad tricks on her. She starts to see holes everywhere. To the point that she actually just orders a lot of super glue and just start plugging everything, every hole that she sees. It just kind of ends really badly where she's lying in a tub of bleach.
Oh no.
And she has glue in her hands and she's like, I have a couple of holes left and they're all on me.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yep. It really, really stuck with me because, phobias are horrible.
Yes, they are.
I just looked up that anthology, too. It has a really great TOC.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So many great women. So I'm looking forward to finishing it and then writing my review. But I also was brave and went to the movies last week. And I went to see Antebellum.
Nice. How was that?
How was that?
Really good. A lot of people, I saw the reviews on IMDb, and some people were slamming it, saying they didn't really get it, and the acting wasn't good, and something like the whole plot was confusing. But I thought it was really, really well done. The cinematography is really moving, and the music that goes along with it, the soundtrack, you're just kind of clutching your heart, and you're feeling so much white guilt.
Yeah, one of the odder commentaries I've seen about this movie is that slavery is depicted as being too bad.
Yeah. Too bad.
And I'm just
really?
not sure what kind of neo-progressive liberalist nonsense this is. Slavery was bad, people.
It always will be.
We don't need to whitewash it and gussy it up. Slavery was a horrible, awful experience. What the fuck do you want it to be?
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt. I went with two of my coworkers from work, and one of the coworkers actually suggested this film, and she had no idea what kind of film this was. She was kind of expecting a generic horror movie, with jump scares and everything, and she was kind of disappointed that there was none of that in the film. But she was traumatized afterwards.
I'm a really big fan of Janelle Monáe, the lead actress in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, I love her music. She's a great actress, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this.
She did a phenomenal job. Like, a phenomenal job. It was amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I highly recommend seeing this movie, especially in light of what's happening today. It really opens up a lot of eyes.
It is on my list.
Yeah,
it looks really sweet.
Right now, there's no theaters near me that are playing it, but it's a $20 rental. So I'm like, I might wait till it's a bit cheaper to rent because I don't want to spend $20 to just rent a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better maybe, I think, spending $20 on that movie instead of spending $30 on Mulan.
Yes.
That's true. But I think renting for anything more than like $6 is a bit much for any movie.
True.
But I definitely want to see it. It's like, we were talking about Bill and Ted earlier. When they released it digitally here, you could rent it for $20 or buy it for $25.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm like, I'll just spend the extra $5 and own it.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel they should do that with more of like the simultaneous releases.
And then if you didn't have the previous two movies, they had a digital box set that had all three of them for $30. So
man, that's not bad.
Not at all.
So it's just stuff like that. But I'm happy Antebellum's good. I'm excited about seeing that myself.
Definitely recommended.
Cool.
So for last quick round, I am hosting a reread of The Stand with a few people. It'll be over by the time this podcast airs.
Hopefully.
But I just bought, the plan is, but I just bought the new leather-bound Barnes & Noble like deluxe edition of The Stand. Ooh. Which now makes it The Stand is the book I own more copies of than any other book.
Like, did you have to have a cart to wheel it out of Barnes & Noble?
No, it's actually lighter than my first edition hardcover.
Is it really?
Yeah. Like my first edition hardcover I can murder somebody with. This book, it's pretty light.
It's just a maiming.
Yeah.
I mean, leather is a little bit lighter than cardboard, isn't it?
Yeah. But other than that, I've also have been reading Still Heck Texas by Tex Gresham, which is the wildest book I've read all year so far. It does not have a plot. It's like a series of microfiction vignettes. It even says it's not a novel on the cover, and it's not a novel. Like, it's a series of like microfiction vignettes that all take place in a town called Hell, Texas. And it's set in 3 sections. I should say the book opens with a picture of a town in Texas that just says, "Welcome to Texas, fucker."
Good premise.
Yeah.
Section 1 is called "These are the things that fall out of my head as I lie in a ditch and die." Section 2 is called "God doesn't love children who dream of killing their parents."
Somebody's never read the Bible.
Yep.
And section 3 is called "Scenes from a partially unproduced film about his life entitled Hummingbird."
What?
And section 3 is just like you're reading a movie script, essentially. It's like random scenes from a movie that's like kind of a spoof on Moby Dick, but in Texas.
Where there's... all right.
It is a wild book. There's no way to really describe this.
Is this...
Like,
when did this come out?
Last month.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like...
Who wrote it?
Tex Gresham.
Has he written anything else?
Maybe. He's written a couple things. I'm not too sure if this is his real name or if it's a pen name, but he's published a few different things, like short fiction under this pen name.
Okay.
But under this name. This is his first book. To even give you an example of how wild this book is. So there's one, this part made me laugh. I'm trying to find it real quick. This is page 8. And it's kind of like a poem. But it says, this one's really sad, so warning that this one's pretty sad. But it's, "Despite the ultrasound, I am certain my daughter will be born horribly deformed. Heredity will not be kind to her. She will get the worst of us. But even if she comes out like this, I will still love her." Then there's a drawing of an ass with eyes and legs attached to it with a tongue sticking out.
Oh my god.
And then it just says, "We ended up not having a daughter. She didn't make it long enough to be born."
Oh my god.
Oh, dear.
Like, the book's fucking wild.
Sounds like it.
It is a fever dream and a half. But it reminds me a bit of Naked Lunch, which was one of like a book that was a big inspiration to me when I first got into writing.
Yeah.
So I'm getting like a big Naked Lunch vibe from this. I'm digging it for what it is, but it's really fucked up and funny and surreal.
Sounds
but,
like
Definitely, that sounds like it.
But anyone else, you guys are free to go, and then we can dive into the rest of our podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one last thing. I'm going to cut you off, Matt. You can wait.
What the?
Yeah, fuck Matt.
Fine, be that way.
So one of the wilder things I've read this year was Jeremy Robert Johnson's The Loop.
Question: have you read Jeremy Robert Johnson before?
No, this was my first. And as soon as I finished it, I went on Amazon to go buy more of his stuff, and just about everything is out of fucking print now. So I'm kind of pissed off.
He has so all of his old out of print books, those are all short story collections.
Okay.
And he has one big short story collection that's like most of those in one book.
Okay, that's Entropy in Bloom.
Yes.
That one's still out there. Skullcrack City is no longer available.
Oh, Skullcrack's out of print now?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was surprised that wasn't out there anymore.
Okay, well, either way, Entropy in Bloom, that'll give you most of, like, the majority of your short fiction.
Well, that one is definitely on my list now. I got that one, but I was looking for some more. And I saw his little $800 used copy paperbacks.
$800? Oh,
yeah, that one's going to have to wait a little while.
Yeah, gotta save up some money for that first.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that should only be like, the rest of the next decade's paychecks.
I feel like we talked about this before, but like $800, and he's not getting any of that.
No, it's just some dude who has it.
Bezos.
Yeah. Bezos selling off warehouse stock. But we talked about Christopher Nolan earlier. The Loop is kind of like if Christopher Nolan and David Cronenberg teamed up and did a body horror sci-fi flick.
All right.
About a new technology going awry.
I'm intrigued.
It is amazing. This company called Imtech has created a new augmented reality device that they implant in people's necks and have rushed it into production. They've kind of like glossed right over testing and development and skipped human trials. And the rich parents of this classy town in Oregon have kind of stuck it in their kids. So you get this nice little Children of the Corn cult vibe. These kids with these cerebral implants are all going insane and developing a shared consciousness that compels them to murder.
Okay.
And it just goes insane from there. Like, each chapter, I didn't know how he was going to keep topping himself, because like every chapter I'd have to take a little break and go, oh my fucking God, what the hell did he just do? Like, how is any of this going to get resolved?
Oh my God.
Like this from a major publisher. It's coming out from Saga Press, which I think is a Simon & Schuster division.
Yeah, they are.
Like, I am so used to reading like indie horror. I'm shocked that a major publisher put out something that gets this graphic and twisted.
I mean, he came for the Bizarro scene.
Yeah, but I'm still surprised that a major Big Five publisher in today's world of mass market taste, where everything has to be cookie cutter conformity, that they got this book. I'm
glad they took the risk.
I absolutely applaud them for putting this out here, but this is definitely, it's something you would think a small press or indie author would put out. It's top notch. I mean, it is it has to be the biggest risk I think they've taken in a long time, and it is phenomenal.
I really want to read that. Hopefully I get the chance to soon.
I read an arc. It officially releases this Tuesday. So I'm going to be moseying over to Barnes & Noble to get my leather-bound edition of The Stand and a hardcover of The Loop, because this just got a permanent place in my home library. I have to have it.
So you had one last thing, Matt?
Yeah, I started, and I'm almost done with Standalone by a former guest, Paul Michael Anderson, also from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing. I believe, Mike, you read that.
Yes, I did.
I read that too.
Did you? Yeah. So
I read it a long time ago. I think in June.
Yeah, it's been a few months for us.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind, but I'm absolutely digging it. I love the concept of these, supernatural slashers like a Jason or a Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger, and how it's all just regular working stiff wearing a spacesuit, going in and getting assignments to have to kill all these people. So I love that, the opening of that, and then just how it expands into this whole like weird kind of sci-fi thing where something's coming back and fighting. And I just got to the part where Jenkins, who's our main character, that is one of these slashers, he meets up with, talking about just funny names. I think it's not Merlin, but it's a name kind of like Merlin. And then he's like the projector or something like that. And they're trying to figure out what's happening, why this balance in the multiverse is kind of shifting. But it's absolutely amazing. I did the pre-order, so I got the slasher cards, which are a lot of fun.
Yeah, same. My copy just arrived yesterday.
Wow. That took some time.
Yeah, well, they're trying to destroy the post office, so it's going to take a little bit more time to get mail than usual.
Exactly. But
that would explain a lot.
Yeah. Our Detroit hub decided to just toss out like all of their sorting machinery at the behest of Donald Trump, so mail is completely fucked right now.
I have so much sympathy for you guys.
Yeah, it's something.
I feel like we're Roman citizens watching the fall of the empire.
Yeah. Nero's fucking around on Twitter.
Don't you mean Caligula?
Yeah. Yes.
It's probably a closer app comparison.
Just a little bit more lower on IQ level for that.
Yeah.
But yes,
paid horse fucker that he is.
Standalone is great. But that's it for me.
Standalone's really good.
Agreed. Yeah, I really dug that kind of Quantum Leap meets Friday the 13th and the multiverse vibe that it has. It's a blast. It's a real trip.
Now we're ready to dive into Dear Laura. But before we do that, Villimey, do you want to tell our guests a little bit about yourself and your books?
Yeah. Well, I am really new into this game. I published my debut book 2 years ago. It's the first book in my Nocturnal series. It's a vampire horror series.
Nice.
So I know a lot of people, they just give me, they give you the side eye if you say I'm writing about vampires, and they're like, oh, you mean like Twilight? And then I just kind of have to shove the book down their throats to be like, no, it's not Twilight, you fucking twat. It's my friend called it like the antithesis of Twilight.
Awesome. That sounds nice. Amazing.
So it's just got nothing to do with romance. It's got nothing to do with glittery fuckers. They claim to be vampires, but they're not. I mean, if you're not drinking blood, then you're nothing. But my vampires, they do a lot of that. There's a lot of blood and gore in the first book, and continuing on in the book 2 and in book 3. There's just so I try not to go to extreme horror, but I try to make it as bloody as possible because vampires are bloody creatures.
Yes.
Very true.
So the first one, Nocturnal Blood, I'm actually going to be having a huge promo regarding the 2 books that are out. So Nocturnal Blood will be on sale for only 99 cents. Not through Amazon. I think it's through Barnes & Nobles and the other stuff from Draft Digital. And the second book, Nocturnal Farm, will also be on sale for 99 cents on Amazon. And it will be through a whole week. So if you are if any of you and those who are listening are looking for something to read for October, I definitely recommend my books. Okay. People are saying that is good, and you have to take their word for it, maybe not mine, because you're as an author, you're always like, yeah, I think my books are good, and then you like crippled down into self-doubt, just laying back in the corner, like rocking back and forth, like it's probably good, right? I think people are liking this. Like the imposter.
We know a lot about the imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah, like the imposters. It has a permanent residence here in my apartment. It's so annoying.
It's always fun to deal with.
So much fun, especially when people say like, "I really liked your book," and then I'm like, "Really?
Yeah. Why? Why?
Yeah, you can just ask like, "Why?" And also, are you just doing it to make me feel happy?
Yeah. You want something from me, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what kind of favor are you looking for?
Or you're like, what about this part? Did you see how he messed that up? Or did you see this mess up?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we took all of our writing imposter syndrome and decided to start it up with a podcast, too. So,
yep. Double the imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah. That must be really hard to deal with.
Well, definitely be sure to check those out. Those sound really great.
They do. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you guys like not like a sassy heroine character, mine is really fragile. Like she comes off as realistic because she deals with anxiety and OCD and stuff. So you're probably not gonna like her at first, but I'm hoping that you will, sympathize with her and like, okay, I hope you survive this because this shit is really, really fucked up.
I like those characters more because they feel more real, and you kind of are. I'm trying to think of the word. Like you kind of grow to like them, which makes it even a little bit deeper instead of just kind of this natural. Like some stories where you're just like, oh, I'm supposed to like this person, and then you don't change your feelings or your feelings don't get any deeper than that. But like if you have to kind of grow to like somebody that just kind of makes it more deeper, and you're kind of like seeing somebody really like improve or maybe not improve, and either way you're just like, oh, you get more into their head that way, so that's always good.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of getting a little bit irritated by how many, and especially in horror movies, like there's always this sassy female character, like that's instantly badass, and you're like, well, but she doesn't get any character development.
Exactly.
Fragile characters are the best.
Now, if I recall correctly, this is set in Alaska.
Yeah, the first book starts in Alaska and then deviates into a road trip through the Canadian wilderness and into Seattle.
Now, why set it over on our end of the world instead of in Iceland?
I get this question so often.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
we can skip that then.
No, it's fine. I feel compelled to explain why. So you see. I live in Iceland. It's a little tiny island way up north. Like probably not a lot of people know where it is. And as I said, it's an island. Everyone knows everyone here. It's like the main population is 350,000 people. And at one point, you're going to at least know the cousin of that person. And when I set it out to be like a road trip kind of thing, you're like, okay, here you can drive around the island in maybe 3 or 4 days, and that's not a lot.
Right.
And if you're on the run and if you need to hide, there's basically not much you can hide here. So I figured like, okay, so what place is similar to Iceland? And Alaska is the one that I found to be the most similar because they have we are on the same coordinates in the world, like so we have the same seasonal effects.
Okay.
And there are a lot of like glaciers and forests there that is really good and will, amp up the spooky environment and, more places to see.
Yeah.
And also like in book 2, she goes across the pond and goes all the way to Amsterdam. Oh, so nice. There's also another place for her to explore.
Okay. Very cool.
You sound like a lot of fun.
I hope people enjoy it. I mean, because I've heard that not a lot of Americans, they get the joy to travel across sea, like overseas.
Yeah, Many Americans don't leave the state they grew up in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you might have noticed from the 2016 election there's a certain strain of xenophobia in this country.
Unfortunately.
I personally love to travel. I would love to get out more. Unfortunately, I just haven't been able to. I think the farthest afield I've been was in Ireland way back in the early part of the aughts. And I would absolutely love to get back. I was to Alaska, and that's absolutely gorgeous territory over there. But still plenty more places on my bucket list.
I've seen more of Asia than I've seen of America, to be completely honest.
Where in Asia have you been?
I've been to Japan, I've been to Taiwan, and I've been all around mainland China and Hong Kong as well.
Oh, wow. I lived in Japan for 2 years.
Oh, nice.
I spent 2 weeks traveling around Japan.
Didn't you find it expensive?
Very.
Yep. Did you ride the bullet train?
I did.
Did you make the mistake of riding the bullet train?
I took the bullet train from Tokyo to Kyoto.
Okay. So only that. That's fine. A lot of people just tend to travel like that the entire trip, and I'm like, dude, you're wasting money.
It's too expensive.
It's so
good if you're doing a
expensive.
long distance trip like that, though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you are in Tokyo and you want to go, for example, to Kyoto or Hiroshima, then definitely take the bullet train. But if not, just take the domestic air flights. It's much cheaper.
And then I went up to Nara. I went to Osaka. It was a good time.
Yeah,
definitely.
I saw the deer. I fed the deer biscuits.
I was gonna ask if you saw the deer when we were there. They were awesome.
Did they attack you? I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
They're like, so there's this for those who haven't been there. There's the deer there, I believe, are sacred, and you can and they just wander around, and they're almost like dogs. And
they're wild deer.
They're wild deer.
Domesticated.
But they're everywhere, and you get you go and you buy some deer biscuits, and they just know, and they will glob onto you and dig into your pockets to find them.
And they will tackle you.
Yeah,
they'll butt you and try to get those biscuits from you.
And did you ever go? I can't remember which mountain it is with all the monkeys.
Arashiyama.
I didn't go there. No,
I went there.
That one's fun, and they got a lot of signs up there like "Don't smile at the monkeys." Don't
don't feed the monkeys. Don't have your phone out too. Don't reaching it too far because they will take it.
Oh wow! I think the funniest thing I saw when I was in Tokyo, I went to the giant fish market that's in Tokyo, and there was a sign because I guess some Australian tourists fucked around the fish market and got in a lot of trouble, and there's a sign of the stereotypical looking white dude, and he sees the sushi cutting knife. He's and the dialogue says, "Whoa, dude, looks like a samurai sword."
Oh, God.
And the signs do not touch.
Oh, that's amazing.
Sabaranai kudasai.
Well, travel. I think more people need to travel, because more Americans need to travel, and it really helps you put perspective on yourself and your country in the grand scheme of the world.
Yeah, and realize that there are other races and cultures out there, not just your white bread suburbanite, back roads, hee-haw bullshit.
Yeehaw!
That always say, speak American.
Yeah.
Why do I gotta press 1 for English?
But yeah, you might have to delay your travel trips a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we're currently banned from traveling anywhere outside of the U.S. So the world has built a wall around us since we don't take things like virus pandemics seriously.
Yep. I remember I saw that tweet when it happened, the Board of Travels in America was like, "Hey, we can finally travel elsewhere in the world," and then it was the world.
Nope.
Yeah, the whole country were like, who should be the one to tell him?
Yeah. Yay, we can go, and the rest of the world's like, fuck you, no.
Yep. Hail to the no.
Yeah.
Like, bitch, you banned.
Oh God. Hopefully things get better. We'll find out what happens in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But until then, it's just gonna be a ball of anxiety.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I'm very, very nervous and anxious, and
You know what? I think the rest of the world is anxious with you.
yeah. Well, maybe the UN will step in and help us out here at some point.
Just only hoping.
They're dealing with Britain right now, and they're like, oh, we can't deal with this shit anymore.
Yep. The world's in a crazy place right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
But let's
Nothing
shift
like
gears and let's get
Away from the
into
rise of right-wing fascism and
get
talk
into
about Gemma.
the child abduction story.
Yes.
That
Oh,
is
yes.
Dear Laura.
Yeah, some less heady, serious stuff.
It's still pretty heavy.
Oh, yeah.
So I will
Smidge.
say this is my first book by Gemma, and holy fucking shit, have I been sleeping on this author.
Yes, indeed.
Like, after reading this book, you know that there was a reason why she was nominated for the Bram Stoker Award.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a potent little gut punch of a novella.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, if I didn't have stuff to do the day after I started reading it, I would have read this book in one sitting. Like, I just couldn't put it down.
Yeah, it was same here. I think I read it on a Sunday afternoon, and I had so little left, but then I had to go to work, and I couldn't take the Kindle with me. I'm like, I need to finish this. Why are you making me work?
Not that I have ever done this at work because I can't steal time like that at the office, but there is that Kindle Cloud Reader that you go to the website. And if you open up another tab as a private window, just for instance, and log in.
Look at that.
And keep your hand on the mouse so you can minimize it if you need, or get one of those screen protectors so people can't look in on your monitor. I'm just saying, as a for instance, is not something that I could endorse.
But,
No.
Mike, not all of us are office workers, so not all of us can get away with that.
I'm working in fucking retail.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm a teacher, so.
Like, I can't go up to a person like, hold on, I'm reading here. I'll be back with you in a moment.
Get the fuck away. Go find a fridge on your own.
Don't need my help. Fuck you.
I didn't use
The best way to help you is to let you help yourself.
Yes, just go get lost.
At the bookstore, I would do that every once in a while. I'd be like, just wait 1 second. They understand. You're testing the product out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
There you go.
So this podcast, you've been warned already. It's a full spoiler deep dive into Dear Laura. So if you haven't read this book, unfuck that and read it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're going to spoil all of it.
And there's no vampires, so.
No, sorry about
what-
that.
It's okay.
It's sad.
Yeah, I lied. I take all the blame for that.
I'm not blaming anybody, but it was really funny because like I had it and I was looking at it, and then when you mentioned
Child
that,
abduction.
yeah, I was like, this background doesn't say anything about vampires.
I will say though, this
I
story.
did read this all in one day, and like at the 70% time, I was like, where's the fucking vampire? They gotta show up? What the hell is Richard talking about?
It's like Rich.
You
Hey,
completely misled us.
You know what though? You still fucking loved it.
It's true.
I did,
No complaints. No complaints here.
but I still hold you in contempt for this.
I mean, I'll take the contempt, but you still fucking loved it. So
Yeah,
I just can't believe you would lie to us like that.
Mike, you know me for a while now. Like,
I know.
I'm capable of lying to you.
You are. You are a vicious, psychotic bastard.
Pretty much. So, Dear Laura is about a woman named Laura.
Did you just see the pointy teeth on the cover in her hand and presume it was a vampire?
They were just molars.
Actually, I thought this was like a moth that with its wings torn off or something like that. And then when I read it, I had to go back to the cover and be even more horrified. Afterwards,
This cover is kind of like a Rorschach test.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the teeth on the cover are even worse once you realize what they are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so this story follows Laura, who, as an adult, who suffers from severe trauma after watching her childhood friend, Bobby, hop in a van and is never seen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the story kind of keeps on present-day Laura trying to follow these letters to find the person who kidnapped Bobby and possibly find Bobby's
himself.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a 30-year gap between Bobby's abduction and our introduction to Laura at the start of the book. She's injured and trying to get through the woods to a certain location. We don't really understand the context right away. But there's a big discrepancy in time here. And then
the book follows a narrative that's like one chapter's past, one chapter's present. It keeps on going back and forth.
But I think it really helps because it really draws you in. After each chapter, you kind of you have to know what happens next.
Probably the best way to tell that story as opposed to like going linear.
Yeah. It keeps the suspense just at the end of every chapter, suspense, and it wants you to go more and more and more.
Yeah. It gives you that wonderful built-in tension where you're wondering, okay, why the fuck is she in the woods? Like, what is she doing here? What is the end game that she's hoping to do here? Is she looking for this guy? Is she looking for the abductor? Is she running away from something?
Yeah,
what is going on?
Yeah.
Especially when it says, like, these are confessions. And I'm like, whoa, what kind of confessions are these?
Yeah.
So, like, is it her confessions or is it someone else? I mean, what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a real big fan of the presentation here where we get the present day and then the past and the way these two narratives eventually intersect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really masterfully done. So hats off to Gemma.
Yeah, it was really like woven intricately into like this beautiful blend.
Yeah, so like in the past version, we get Laura, she's like 13. Bobby's kind of like this best friend that they just started kind of dating, but they're not quite sure.
They held hands.
Yeah, they held hands. They kissed once.
Yeah, like the best puppy dog moment you ever seen, like puppy love.
Yeah, totally. And then like we were saying, she goes to grab something, and then when she comes back to this bus stop, he's talking to somebody in a van. He jumps into the van, they disappear,
and that's the last time she saw him.
Yeah, and a year later, she gets a letter from X, and the letter is just saying like, you know, I can't remember. It's basically just about a little bit about Bobby, and then like I can give you clues to find Bobby, but we need to build trust. So you need to tell me something, and then it just progressively gets to like you need to send me your toothbrush, you need to send me your comb,
underwear.
Yes, yeah. You send dirty underwear.
You need to send me your sanitary wipes.
Yeah, God, these letters were so fucking creepy.
It gave you chills, and you were like, do I really want to continue reading this?
Yeah. And it's only once a year. She only gets it once a year.
So imagine the anxiety of waiting for that.
Yeah.
She's always thinking, what sweet hell is he going to come ask for me next time?
I think what was more horrifying for me, particularly as a parent, was Laura's naivete.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Initially, when she doesn't understand what X is, she doesn't get that he is this sick pedophile. So when he's asking her for like, wrap up a pair of your used underwear and leave it outside your front door, she's just like, oh, yeah, fine. I mean, if that'll get me an answer, what do I care if I lose a pair of knickers?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and then like
you just don't get it. Like this is, it's even more horrifying how innocent she is and how easily she's led down this little path by this manipulator.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that like you get a couple other like some of the things he says in the letter. It's very clear that he's been watching her throughout the whole year,
stalking her. Yeah,
and then you get Bobby's parents that are not outright blaming her, but saying like, you know more than you're telling us. So she's already guilty or feeling guilty about not speaking up or not being able to give out more information. So you have that, and then you have the letters sharing more personal information like, oh, your dress looks great. I don't like the way you cut your hair. And him saying like, don't go to the police. So that at that age, just talking about like, you know, children and kind of that mid-year, those teen years. I mean, like that's like the toughest thing. You assume you're doing the best thing and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or you feel guilty that you did something wrong. And so like, cause I felt that way too at points, especially with the underwear. I was like, man, why didn't she just go to the police?
Yeah.
But,
Sorry, I'm cutting through. One thing I also find kind of funny that he always just specifically mentions the police. He never says, "Don't tell your parents."
Yes.
Yeah. I found that kind of be creepy because he probably knew after watching her and the relationship with her parents that they wouldn't believe her if she told them.
Yes. Yeah, which is horrifying to kind of think about, and you're just like, gotta make sure the kids know, like, it's okay. Yeah, and then the other side of that I think is also kind of creepy is she takes this idea and she talks about how she does this now. That's how she learns to like get things or to do, like, that's her life now is like, to give something, I need to get something. And
like you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah, and so just the fact that
quid pro quo,
that X like was able to manipulate her and change her mind, just change her whole outlook on everything is just absolutely horrifying. And like later on, we kind of see that she eventually changes out of that. But again, thinking about like those teen years and her, even up into her 20s, how much she's been affected by this, and like how much like he just absolutely wrecked her and just did.
It's just a really good example of how pedophiles and these molesters really manage to manipulate children like that. And that's the most horrifying part that I found about it. Like, okay, he knows what he's doing and he's really good at it.
Yes. And so it's just, it's horrifying. But yeah, so each year she gets these letters and she's kind of doing this. And the letters she gets back she gets like coordinates. It takes her a minute to kind of figure out what these are, map coordinates. And in a book full of creepy moments, the first time she goes out to some just park, or it's like just a parking lot in the middle of nowhere. And she's absolutely depressed because there's no body and there's no way for her to figure out what's here. And this guy walks by with a dog, and she doesn't even look up. And the dude has a letter. It has the exact same letter and everything. You're just like, holy crap.
Yep. You're like, oh God, look up.
Yes.
Yep. I also like, even he's writing her letters every year. So he's waiting like the 1 year for letters to like find out the next clue. But we also like mentioned she grows this like idea you have to give something to get something. Then she kind of grows out of that when he stops writing her for a while.
Well, because she finally learns, I think she's 19, and she like calls him out and says like, I'm done doing all of this.
Yeah, she wrote him back, didn't she? Yeah.
Wrote him back.
And so, then she doesn't get any letters for a while. And then, so she starts to kind of like feel like she's getting somewhat normal. She's works. She has a boyfriend. And then I'm trying to remember if the tooth thing happens before she gets punched in the face. Yes. No,
it
after.
Does. No.
Because he punches her and then she finds the letter, because that's when she, okay.
Because she spoke back to him.
And so she decides at that point to tell the police. She's got a backpack full of all the evidence, all the letters and everything. And she's going to the police station. This dude comes up and just socks her right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. X has been stalking her for quite a while.
Yes.
I will say that tooth scene was really hard to read.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah, it was. Like I usually when I'm reading, my head goes into this like movie reel kind of thing. But I like everything I see it kind of feels like I'm watching it through a movie, and just exactly that scene, I had to shut my eyes.
It instantly brought me back to the first time I watched Old Boy and the hammer with the teeth scene.
Oh God, yeah. Or the curb stomping scene in American History X.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just Oh, it's pretty brutal.
Just like, I have this thing with teeth, and I'm like, nope, no.
I think what makes it more evocative is Gemma doesn't go into detail.
No, she just lets the reader do all the imagination.
Which is more effective.
Yeah, very much. One that stood out for me is when she gets the picture of Bobby.
Yes.
Oh,
and rather than telling us what's in this photograph, we're just told it's red. Yeah. It's all red.
Yep.
And there's a line later that kind of gives us a little bit more detail about how he's just been like ripped apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is just absolutely brutal.
I want to fast forward a little bit just to jump, because like when I read on my Kindle, I always do the Kindle like highlight. Mm-hmm. And for this book, I wanted to highlight everything. So I held back. And the one thing, I highlighted only one part of this book, and it was chapter 29, paragraph 2. When she goes and she starts digging up the bones in the forest.
Oh my God.
That was like the most heartbreaking thing I've read in a long fucking time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was so perfect.
You were looking for like this resolution, like, yes, all this pain that she's gone through, she will get her, what she wanted in the first place. And then there's nothing, and you're like, oh dear God.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, that whole paragraph was just perfect writing.
Mm-hmm. It was, yeah. It broke your heart.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
What is it? I found it right here. It's the animals of the woodland watched her from afar as she dug, frantic arcs of flung earth spraying all around her, her breath coming thick and fast, her eyes bright with exertion, darkening blood still spattered across her face. They watched and listened to the desperate, urgent sounds that fell from her lips as she dug. Every now and then she would stop and extract bone and lay it on a trapulin spread out next to her. That's the only thing I highlighted in this book. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, another element in that vein was her approach to talking about PTSD and the way all of these years have traumatized her so deeply that she's working in a grocery store at the night shift and just like putting up cans on a shelf. She has these nervous breakdowns in the middle of it and just loses it, completely randomly over nothing. But I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
It could happen at just the slightest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's just so haunted by these past demons and the trauma of losing her best friend. It never goes away. And it's powerful the way Gemma details all of this.
Very much so. And I also like the clues that she's giving us in the present day timeline with like Laura, much older, in the woods. We found out she's trying to find like the pedophile who took Bobby. Like they're going to meet finally.
Yeah.
And she has a gun.
Like the climax.
Yeah. And she has a gun that she believes is unloaded.
Yes.
Yeah. It was her husband's gun, wasn't it?
Her husband's gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like an antique pistol.
Yeah. He's taken up target shooting in secret. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when they finally meet, like when she finally meets the guy, the way Gemma describes him is so disgusting and perfect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like a big fat worm sitting on this old couch in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's like makeshift home of tarp and just grossness in the woods.
Bones.
Bones. Yeah.
He's got Bobby's skull on his desk.
Yep.
Well, and that's like so we did kind of jump ahead, but with that, because she finally gets in there and she digs up what Rich was reading that chapter, and then she after she gets it all up, she finds out that it's just a deer.
Yeah.
And so we don't even know,
Bobby, but it's just a deer.
Yeah, and he laughs. The ex guy laughs, and then it jumps to the cops, and that's when they find the skull that they determine is Bobby. So she doesn't even find out until after she gets arrested. Unfortunately,
goes to jail.
So she didn't even know. If you think about that last thought of he's not here, he's not even here yet, and then to find out when you're already in jail, already kind of alone, that part I thought it was just because not even giving we don't get that, we don't get that resolution as well. We don't get it till after the fact, and you're just like, holy crap.
Yep.
Because the future part of her, so like the present day part of her, like she gets married, she has a kid, and like it seems like a pretty normal, happy time, and she never tells her husband about Bobby or anything like that. And then
that's like her secret.
Yeah, she gets that like final letter that is like the clues all in front of it. I mean, even in the letter it says like all the clues are in front of you, you just got to figure this out. But he proves that he's still scary X, because he's like, if you don't follow these rules and if you go to the cops, I am coming for you and your son, and I'll do what I did with Bobby to your son. And you're just like, oh man, it's still happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've seen what happens when she does have enough and goes to the cops.
Yeah.
Yep.
That he's watching her. He is still stalking her and waiting for her to disobey him.
Exactly. Just to show that he has complete control over her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like, even after she has moved in the middle of the night at one point.
Yes.
What she thinks is under the cover of darkness, like he still finds her.
Yep.
Yeah. Just messed up.
It's just horrifying.
And like the whole, everything at the end, because she goes through the woods. There's a part where she gets a stick into her ankle, which was pretty painful sounding.
Yeah. And she had to bite on her flashlight to pull the stick out.
Yep.
And she makes it through all the woods. It's all during the nighttime, and she's rattled and just exhausted, and she finds him, and then he kind of just, as disgusting and gross as everything is, he still kind of like has that power over her. And she talks about like not wanting to cry in front of him, but she just can't help it. And he's laughing, and he's got her tooth on a necklace.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just
I love like the scene too where like it's super gross when like he takes off his shirt and all like the scars on him and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
He went to jail. He was caught. And
they carved pedophile.
Yeah.
But misspelled.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, but so that's part of why he was quiet for so long. He's like, I was in jail and I couldn't write to you because they check our letters. So yeah, it's just horrifying. And then she beats the crap out of him, but keeps him alive because she doesn't want to kill him. And then of course she finds the deer bones, and then that kind of snaps. He laughs. That was like the final thing, was him cracking up that she couldn't find him.
That's the thing with stalkers. They always have to have the last say.
Yeah. It's just
so. Well, I mean, eventually Laura has the last say in this.
Yeah,
one.
Thankfully. I was like, when does you get it?
I felt so bad for her too, because like she shoots him and kills him.
Yeah.
Not knowing the gun was loaded.
No, but she like but you're expecting to find like this gratification redemption, but she just feels empty.
She feels empty, and then she gets arrested for second-degree murder. And you just feel so bad for her throughout this whole story.
But this is a thing that could actually happen. This is also what makes it so horrifying.
Yeah, it's definitely real-life horror. I mean, this is right out of reality. This is stuff that does happen.
And it also kind of, because she is, a female author, and I think it runs even more deeper because, this is something that we women, we kind of have to deal with much more than men.
Yes.
Yeah, sadly, yes.
Yeah.
So that kind of really hit it hard for me as well.
It's definitely, it's tough.
I mean, she's definitely playing with a lot of personal issues with this one, I think, as a woman, as a mother herself.
Yeah.
These are definitely nightmares that are right at the forefront of her existence, I would presume.
Yeah, definitely. I think so as well.
I mean, I know just as a parent, the idea of losing a child is just absolutely horrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just every parent's nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a little terrifying to think about. It's like
to lose them in the way that Bobby was lost is just. How do you even cope with that? Like, how do you go on knowing and imagining what happened? Like, I have no idea how.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's just like so. Yeah, like it's so tough to think about because when Laura like saw them, at first it seemed like Bobby was laughing with this guy, and then he jumps into the car and he doesn't even look at Laura as they drive past, and you're just like, what? Oh, it's just terrifying to think about.
It was incredibly heartbreaking. The whole scene when Bobby jumps in the car, my heart just sank.
That sad, polite smile that he had. I was like, no.
Yeah, and then
just the way that. Sorry,
go on, Matt.
I was gonna say, just the way X was described at that point was just this hulking, shadowy mass that she couldn't see a face or anything. He was just this like monster in the car, and it's just, oof. And
to the letters that she gets from X, like as soon as those start, you just know Bobby is not in a good place. Like, you don't know what's going on until she gets that photograph of his murder. But up until that point, it's like, it's heartbreaking to imagine what kind of hell that kid was going through.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually kind of glad that that Gemma didn't go into that detail.
Yeah. I am too. Yeah. I mean, I am a fan of like pulpy horror, like the gorier the better.
Same here. Yeah.
We talked about Brian Keene's Urban Gothic on last week's show, and it was like, okay, that one hit all the right box for me. Mm-hmm. But to come into this where you have a case of child abduction and child murder. And Gemma never she never overplays it. She doesn't get into those gory details, and I am fucking thankful for that.
I am. Yeah, same. It's just like, no, don't turn my stomach any more than you already have.
Yeah, I think if she would have tried to depict some of those scenarios and get into the nitty gritty of it, it would have been excessive and exploitative and just fucking sleazy. And I don't want to read that,
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's one thing to have kind of the over-the-top grossness when it's talking about urban gothic. That is clearly a there no real life in that story. This one is so real life focused that you don't want you don't want to hear about that. I mean, like, you don't want the details of that kind of story because it just would be a bit much.
This is like Special Victims Unit kind of horror.
I was just gonna say that. I'm not even kidding. I was like, it reminds me of when you watch Special Victims Unit and you're like, my stomach hurts every time.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's show.
You're watching this and then you hate the world for a week.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas we can read about cannibal mutants and it's like, oh man, this was a fucking blast.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean,
coming to this one, it's like, Jesus Christ, this 14-year-old kid was just raped and beheaded and just fucking hell.
Yep.
I also think the difference too is like urban gothic is written to be just like a fun pulpy splatterfest. And like we go into one of those books, it's like we know what we're getting ourselves into.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this, because
you go into it thinking it's a vampire story,
it's such a gonna beheaded kid that's raped.
Yeah. And again,
I feel so bad laughing after I say that.
Jesus, you are just shit.
I'm going to hell. I mean, I already know this. So I've come to terms a long time ago that I'm going to hell.
You are literally the worst.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, Charles Manson's like taking notes.
I think Jeffrey Dahmer's taking notes, but okay.
Well, he's a little dead.
Yeah.
Isn't Charles Manson dead?
No. Is he?
I thought he was still alive. Wasn't he up for parole not too long ago?
He was. I think so.
I thought he died recently.
I don't know. Now I have to Google.
Shit, now I have to Google stuff.
Now we're doing research. Charles Manson. He died November 19th, 2017, motherfucker.
Oh,
what?
Shit.
So he's a lot of dead.
Oh, well, you know what? Good. Good fucking riddance then.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for that.
Man.
Nope.
All right, well, good. You know what? There's good news for my day then.
That's what I was like. I thought Charles Manson died.
I don't know.
Well, any other serial killer is probably taking notes.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure we have at least one listening. It's just a statistical probability.
Yep.
Horrifying to think about.
I mean,
it's like Sleeping Tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Brian Keene. What was he had a serial killer fan that was
BTK.
Yeah.
Yeah, the BTK was a fan of Brian Keene.
You're kidding me.
No,
he was sending him letters from prison.
Dear God.
Is insane.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's like this is like the worst. I can't say the funniest, but like the best like icebreakers in the world.
Yeah.
Did you know I get letters from BTK?
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I'm glad we had this little moment of lightheartedness in the middle of this.
Me too. We need some levity because this is a really fucking heavy story.
It is, yeah. And again, I'm just so thankful that Gemma doesn't dwell in the depravity of it all. We get less is more in this case.
Oh yeah, that's why I think this is like a perfect as a novella. I probably wouldn't have gone as good as a novel.
I couldn't have endured this if it was a novel. Even I read The Girl Next Door, and that was a book you had to endure to finish.
Yeah.
Actually, that's where Mike and I became friends.
That's true.
We read The Girl Next Door together. We
had a good cry read over on an Instagram book read.
Cry read.
Yeah, no, it was...
Motherfucker, you try and read that book and come away.
Yeah, I think Matt should give that book a try, and if he doesn't cry, then he's officially dead inside.
Yeah, if Crossroads didn't do it for you, The Girl Next Door, that one will murder your soul, whatever's left.
I may be partway dead inside, but I'm not that dead inside.
Oh my God, that one is...
That like I can't just the concept of that one or whatever that other Paperbacks from Hell that recently came out. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna read that. When I was younger, like maybe that stuff I would be a little bit more fine with, but I'm older now. I have a couple children, and I mean, like the things that affect me, it wouldn't have affected me like 10 years ago. I mean, even recently rewatching Halloween, and there's a couple, I mean, like obviously the babysitter killer kind of stuff is frightening, but watching like Jamie Lee Curtis like crying in a closet, I was practically crying. I was just like, oh my God, somebody save her. And then I'd like stop and look at myself and be like, you've changed. So I've
seen this movie 50 times before. Like, why?
I watch like Halloween once a year.
I'm not like completely dead inside.
I mean, you still cry during a Dove Chocolates commercial, so.
Well, I just don't understand that chocolate. Dove's in it.
Did you guys cry or did you guys feel sad after watching The Haunting of Hill House?
I cried. So I can tell you exactly the point of Haunting of Hill House when I cried. It was the reveal of the bent neck lady.
Oh yeah, shit.
That was the part that got me. The ending didn't make me cry, but the reveal of the bent neck lady into the funeral episode, I was a bundle of emotions during those two parts.
Yeah, I agree.
We actually just watched that this week. Just finished it last night, and the ending for me, I thought it was a little schmaltzy.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of what you expect, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for. I don't know what I was hoping for.
Originally, the ending was darker, and then they changed it last minute to make it a bit more lighthearted.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
but I think it still had a tinge of darkness because, like, I don't personally think they left the Red Room.
Well, that would have been a good way to go.
But I think that was like they just want to make it appear a bit more lighter because the ending was a totally different tonal shift from the rest of the show.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it didn't feel like an authentic ending for everything that came before. It
probably must have gone through like a focus group, and they're like, "It's too bleak."
Yeah, probably.
And then we're like, "Okay, we got to change things up."
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, we just spent 10 episodes dealing with suicide, drug addiction, marital infidelity, abusive relationships. It's like, yeah, okay, here's a big happy ending for everyone. He gets to write a sequel. Luke is fine.
Yeah.
Thea's moving in with her new girlfriend. The marriage is saved. It's like
Luke is fine after injecting himself with bleach.
Rat poison.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, rat poison.
But yeah, I think that ending was just it didn't feel like an earned ending after everything that they had gone through.
I agree.
I agree. They could have done far more with it and still would have been. It still would. I mean, I love that series. Like one of the best that I always recommend to people. But if they had gone darker like they should have, I still would have been like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, it took me a few episodes to get into what it was doing, but once I got into it, it was a great character examination for each of them. And there were several episodes in there that I just flat out loved, particularly the Betneck lady story that we get for that, and Luke when he is coming out of the care home. To try and find his friend, out of rehab. Those two episodes I thought were absolutely standout.
I agree.
So I was disappointed in the ending. I got high hopes for Bly Manor, though.
I do too.
Me too.
I will say, to keep on this as well, I think Mike Flanagan's probably one of the best working horror directors in the business right now.
I agree.
He's phenomenal. I will watch whatever he does at this point.
Same here. I mean, if he managed to do the cinematography to all the films or the series that he's going to do, I'm like, yes, please continue. Yeah.
Well, it's even
maybe Mike Flanagan can option Dear Laura.
Oh yeah. I mean, I want this as a film, as a short film.
It would be a
Mike, we know you're listening.
You're in Salem, Mike.
You're
from Salem. Come on, buddy. But no, the thing about Mike Flanagan too is The Haunting of Hill House. So I love that book, the Shirley Jackson book.
Yeah.
And the show is not that book at all.
No, not at all.
But the show feels like a Stephen King adaptation of a book that was never written by Stephen King.
Very much so.
I agree.
Yeah, in fact, watching it, you can see a lot of Flanagan and King in the TV series, particularly. You can see how he would use this as a level up to go into Dr. Sleep.
Yeah. And Dr. Sleep was phenomenal.
Yes.
But even Gerald's Game was phenomenal. His Ouija movie was phenomenal. He did Ouija Origin of Evil. That was a phenomenal film.
That was him, yeah.
That was him, yeah.
I thought that was his handiwork.
I still haven't seen that one or Gerald's Game, so.
They're both really good. Hush, which is on Netflix, is also a great film.
I loved Hush. I
have not seen Hush yet.
That was the first experience I had with Mike Flanagan and Kate Siegel. And
me too.
Yeah, it was after that one. I was like, okay, I got to find Abstentia. What else has he done? Because I need.
Abstentia is really fucking good too.
Yeah, it was.
But even all this stuff, you can see a Stephen King influence in all of it.
Very much.
And I don't know. He should do Dear Laura. I think he'd be great at adapting that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anything he touches, I'm going to watch though.
Is he doing Revival or is that with somebody else now?
I think he's doing Revival.
Oh my God, I cannot. I need that movie. I just need to inject that and mainstream it right now.
Yeah, I think he's doing Revival. Right now he's working on Bly Manor's coming out. Then he's doing another Netflix series that he's directing all the episodes of. I forget the name of it, but it's supposed to be the book that Kate Siegel's character's writing in Hush.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
And it's going to be what's in that book for a TV show. So it's going to be a Flanagan cinematic universe type thing.
Ooh.
So I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But despite this Flanagan tirade, we should go back and remind our listeners that Dear Laura needs to be read.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
It needs to be bought.
And Mike Flanagan needs to adapt it.
And it needs to be injected into your eyeballs.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to keep on Gemma Amour because she is a fantastic writer.
Yes.
She's a force to be reckoned with.
Really is. I'm mad at myself. I didn't read her before I read this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had this book on my Kindle for a long fucking time. So I'm kicking myself for not jumping on that sooner. It is fantastic.
And it's definitely a really good book to start with if you want to follow Gemma Amour.
And we want to say thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you. Love discussing book, love discussing horror, and love fucking around.
That's our goal. We love to entertain and have a good conversation.
Can I interject really quickly one more Mike Flanagan thing?
Yes.
Maybe.
One of the Netflix series he's doing is called Midnight Mass.
I think that's the book that she was writing in Hush.
Centered around an isolated island community that experiences supernatural events after the arrival of a mysterious priest.
Ooh. Liking the sound of it.
Yep. Island horror, mark me down.
Potential cult, yep.
Yes.
Mike Flanagan, he's a force to be reckoned with. I will say I'm a bit disappointed that Dr. Sleep didn't do phenomenal, because that movie was
deserving of much more than it received.
Oh yeah.
It'll be one of those slow burns.
Yeah, I think it'll find the audience. It's going to become a cult flick, I think.
Yeah,
it'll find
I agree.
audience.
I think that's usually how it works with like horror usually.
I also don't think people realize it was a sequel to The Shining.
No,
the advertisement here was terrible.
Yeah.
It was same here. People usually didn't know. They're like, "Oh, Ewan McGregor, what's he doing here?"
And there's that 30-year time gap between the two flicks where it's like,
yes,
they really kind of needed to play that up. If you had never read or seen The Shining to get to the end of Dr. Sleep and all of those other connective tissues that are between those two movies, you're just going to be completely lost.
Exactly. So they should have done marketing, hey, we're going to have a midnight screening of The Shining and then following up Dr. Sleep.
They should have done more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done at least a shitty trailer. It was 30 years after Here's Johnny.
But really, Mike Flanagan's great. You've been a really great guest. This has been a great book to discuss.
I'm glad that I managed to make you read it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no, we're very appreciative of it, because we would have got to it eventually, but we're happy we got to it way sooner than we did.
Yeah, this has been in my Kindle for a couple years now, so I am very, very happy I got that kick in the ass I needed to dig it up and download it and get to it finally.
And where can our listeners get in touch with you at?
I'm really active on Twitter, so if you find me on Twitter with my handle Villimey Mist, so it's how you write my name. They'll probably put it on so you can guys see it.
Yeah.
And I'm also on Instagram, though not as much. I usually use my Instagram for my drawings. I draw little cutesy anime drawings about my characters in my books.
Oh, nice.
Doesn't suit the style of the story at all.
I don't know. There's some cutesy anime that gets really dark. So.
Yeah. I mean, I try to add a little blood spatter here and there.
One of my favorite animes is Higurashi, and that starts off all cute and friendly, and by the end you have kids murdering each other. So.
Oh, yep, with psychotic faces.
Yep. So trust me, I get that.
people, there's a niche for that, I think.
Yes.
So with that, my Instagram handle is fangs.and.light.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Matt, what about you?
I am on Twitter at Brandenburg DM.
Did you forget your Twitter handle for a second, Matt?
Yes, I did.
Sounded like you were going to say at Brittany. His erotic pen name.
Yeah, there you go. My fun little lifetime stories.
And Mike, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at MikeH5856 or my website, michaelpatrickhicks.com.
And they also your email's up on the website, right? So people can send you emails about
if they want to send me hate mail. If they want to send me more hate mail.
Book review.
Yeah, if they want to call me a godless communist some more, they can do that. If they want to talk about fucking my dead mom, like one supposed reader did.
I was listening to that episode the other day, and that was still funny.
Yeah. Well, I haven't forgotten that email. That one's going to stick with me for a little while. I haven't really gotten any good hate mail lately. I don't know why. I'm just being ignored, I guess. Nobody listens.
Try to find a new political thriller that's super pro-Trump conservative and just trash it, and I'm sure you're going to get some hate mail for that.
You know what? There was one book. I think it was called The Coming Storm, maybe. It was
Vince Flynn?
No. It was a near future sci-fi thriller, but very, very anti-Trump. And I sold the review to a website that they published it, and then it got so much hate from pro-Trump people who were very upset that I was liking this anti-Trump book that they pulled the review from the website. And then after they pulled it, I quit that site because fuck them for being spineless quizzlings to this administration. So now,
good for you. Stick it to your guns, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not going to publish on that shithole. Forget them. Fuck them.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088. You can also follow our podcast with the fantastic Twitter handle at Into Staring, which I've been posting those Samuel L. Jackson staring gifs a lot more recently.
Oh, good. Yeah, we definitely need to up our branding there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, what was it? Our last episode we did with the husband stitch that just came out.
Yeah,
that's definitely an appropriate use of the Sam Jackson staring gif.
What was it? What I think it was the Zen Ghost Bookworm was like. I saw that title and cringed, and I just replied with the Samuel Jackson.
Wonderful.
Oh man! But you can follow us at Into Staring, and this is Richard Gerlach saying, "Keep staring."
Project Entertainment Network presents You Gotta Be Kidding, debunking today's modern myths, with hosts, speculative fiction writers Skip Novak and Tom Clark, Bigfoot, Elvis, Illuminati, JFK, New World Order, Flat Earth, Reptilians, all popular modern conspiracy theories, all complete bullcrap, and we'll tell you why.
You gotta be kidding.
A patron-exclusive podcast for Project Entertainment Network.
It's all lies, every word of it. This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.